There's an Oz above us. Welcome, welcome, come in. My name is Anneliese Kuemmerle, and thank you for joining us tonight as we are discussing the Mediterranean diet. Thank you very much to the Ocean City Free Public Library for hosting us today. And I am a registered dietitian and program associate with the Department of Family and Community Health Sciences at Rutgers Cooperative Extension in Cape May County. Tonight, I'll be talking about the basics of the Mediterranean diet, which is a very popular diet. We'll see why, how it works. And these slides for tonight's talk were originally created by one of our FCHS educators who is currently enjoying her retirement. Good for her, Daryl Mitch. And I'll share a little bit about Rutgers Cooperative Extension. Just for anyone who is not familiar, we are a partnership between Rutgers, the State University of New Jersey, the Board of County Commissioners for the state of New Jersey, and also the USDA's National Institute of Food and Agriculture. And we're Rutgers' arm to local communities. So we have offices in counties throughout the state of New Jersey, and we offer cooperative extension services to support the community and also to deliver research-based information. We have 3 departments in our office. If anyone's heard of 4-H Youth Development, we also have the Agriculture Natural Resources Department. If anyone is a master gardener or have a friend who is a master gardener. And then my department, again, is Family Community Health Sciences, or FCHS. And at FCHS, we provide outreach about nutrition, chronic disease prevention, food safety, and overall wellness. We are an affirmative action, equal opportunity employer, and our programs and materials are open and available to everyone. Okay, so the Mediterranean diet. Each year, the U.S. News and World Report publishes rankings on various diets. Has anyone seen this, heard of it, read it? Yes. Long list of diets. Which one's the best? Can anyone guess which was the best in 2026? Mediterranean diet, yes. Does anyone know how long the Mediterranean diet has been receiving best overall diet ranking from US News and World Reports? 10 years, that's a great guess. Almost. Since 2018. And this is an important ranking because the US News and World Report ranking follows a methodology that it factors in evaluations from 69 different expert panelists that include doctors, registered dietitians, nutrition scientists, chefs, very important group to include, I think, right? We want our food to taste good. And also researchers and weight loss researchers. And the Mediterranean diet has been ranked #1 best overall, again, since 2018. It has been substantiated by decades of research. Scientists have been studying the Mediterranean diet for many years. It has been the topic of large clinical trials and also studies that analyze the results from multiple trials. So we have really well-designed randomized controlled clinical trials that show the efficacy of the Mediterranean diet. We also have meta-analyses and systematic reviews, which are just 2 types of studies that look at a bunch of studies and see what they say. And then we also see with the Mediterranean diet that it also receives the #1 ranking for easiest diet to follow, which as a dietitian myself and someone who provides nutrition advice, I like giving advice that is realistic and that people actually can and want to follow. So the fact that it is a easy to follow diet also makes it a very strong contender. It's also been ranked #1 for best diet for arthritis, best diet for diabetes, best diet for inflammation, best diet for mental health, brain health, high cholesterol, and blood pressure. And I could go on, but I'll stop there. And when we're talking about what foods are included in the Mediterranean diet, we're looking at an overall eating pattern. So rather than focusing on a specific bad food to cut out or one health halo good food to add, we are zooming out and we're looking at your overall plate and your overall eating pattern. The Mediterranean diet is about building meals with staple foods that have been enjoyed by people for generations. Any of us could realistically follow the Mediterranean diet for the long term in some way, shape, or form. And again, it's repeatedly ranked highly by review panels because it is consistently backed by research, safe, and sustainable. So I'll give just one example of the research findings that support the Mediterranean diet. The PREDIMED trial, this was a landmark randomized control trial that took place in Spain and included over 7,000 participants. The PREDIMED trial included men and women who are at high risk for heart disease, but not diagnosed with a specific condition. Folks were divided into 3 different groups. The first group followed the Mediterranean diet that was supplemented with olive oil. The second group followed a Mediterranean diet that was supplemented with mixed nuts. And the third group followed a general diet and were generally advised to reduce their overall fat intake. The participants received quarterly education sessions about the diet to which they were assigned. And the adherence to the diet was also measured using a tool called the Mediterranean Diet Score. Participants followed the diet for over 4 years. So we were looking at a lot of people in a well-controlled design over a pretty longish period of time. So 3 good markers for a quality scientific study. And after 4 years, the trial was stopped. And I do want to pause there alone and just acknowledge that the fact that this diet is sustainable enough that thousands of research participants were able to follow it for a few years. And that, I think, is a kind of an unsung selling point about the Mediterranean diet before we even look at the results of the study. When we look at key findings, we see about a 30% reduced risk of cardiovascular events for participants who were following the Mediterranean diet plus olive oil group. We also see similarly a 29% reduced risk for cardiovascular events for the group that followed the Mediterranean diet and also ate, it was just 1 ounce of nuts per day. And then when researchers did go and measure the adherence to the Mediterranean diet using that Mediterranean diet score, they found a benefit even among people who followed the diet pretty closely, but not perfectly. So it's not an all or nothing benefit that we see. The PREDIMED diet or the PREDIMED trial was, again, a large famous trial. And there have been many papers published from the findings of the PREDIMED trial over the past, since the first paper came out in 2018. Other findings include that the data set showed lower incidence of type 2 diabetes also. So if you look up PREDIMED trial, I also encourage you to go to the actual papers themselves. Don't trust the AI summary, which I found some errors in when I was reading the actual paper. When we look at the Mediterranean diet, again, we're talking about more than just a list of good foods and bad foods. Yes, the Mediterranean diet is inspired by the traditional cuisines of Greece, Italy, Spain, and Turkey. So we see a lot of foods that are consumed in those countries on the diet. But we need to zoom out for a bit and look at this concept known as Mediterranean living. I'm a dietitian. You'd think I would only ever be talking about food, but as a dietitian, I will be one of the first people to tell you that food is only part of the story when it comes to health and wellness. Again, we're zooming out, we're looking at social connection, and we're looking at physical activity here when we're looking at Mediterranean living. We see not only food, but physical activity and social ties between folks living in communities. And while there are certainly some nuances and unique ways people from different countries and cultures are going to practice this way of living, so it's not a cookie cutter, one size fits all, get up, eat your breakfast at 8. It is exactly like these foods, and then you go to your neighbor's house at 11. Not cookie cutter in that way, but it's the overall lifestyle practice. And we see also a similar diet and lifestyle pattern with Mediterranean living as we do with other blue zones around the world. Has anyone heard of the blue zones? Yeah. We're going to talk about that in a little bit too. So this map will show you the countries bordering the Mediterranean Sea. We see these include countries in Europe, Eastern Europe, the Middle East, and North Africa. And in particular, we see Sardinia, an island off the coast of Sicily, map over to the left of Italy. And then we also see Caria, a Greek island in the Aegean Sea. They will be important right now. So what does the Mediterranean diet have to do with blue zones? Blue zones are regions of the world where we see a higher than normal number of people living much longer than the average lifespan. So we see a greater percentage of the population living to 100 years and beyond 100. The term first appeared in a cover story on an issue of National Geographic magazine way back in November of 2005 called The Secrets to a Long Life. And really, isn't that why all of us are here? We want the secret to a long life and a long, happy, healthy life. Research on these areas has continued, and I'm just going to present some of the findings here tonight. We see 5 blue zones identified around the world, the first being Okinawa, Japan. We have another blue zone region in the Nicoya Peninsula of Costa Rica. We also see a Seventh-day Adventist community in Loma Linda, California, with, again, a higher percentage of folks living to 100. And then Sardinia, Italy, and Icaria, Greece are the 2 examples we see in the Mediterranean. And in Icaria, folks are active every day. We see when it comes to diet, a lot of fruits, vegetables, whole grains, beans, potatoes, and olive oil are consumed. And they do enjoy a glass of wine here and there in Icaria, Greece. In Sardinia, Italy, there's a 1-to-1 ratio of female to male centenarians. People in Sardinia, Italy, another qualifier that researchers have looked at are that they don't smoke. There's a priority on putting family first, and again, that physical activity every day. And some other overarching qualities of the Mediterranean lifestyle when we look at the Mediterranean communities. The eating pattern is typically a light breakfast that's followed by a long lunch and maybe a nap, which sounds lovely, right? Pretty great day. But the daily physical activity, that's another important component. We see socialization also is very important. Family and friends spend time together, and people eat together. Another. Foods that are part of the diet include, we see this very plant-forward eating pattern. Has anyone heard of the term plant-forward? It's like, we're not vegetarian, but we eat mostly plants. It's very, very trendy. We see lots of vegetables, lots of fruits, whole grains, legumes, fish, and shellfish also. We see healthy fats, and the olive oil will come up again, and a lot of herbs and spices being used to flavor food. Nuts are consumed, and again, wine in moderation, we see. And this slide shows you the Mediterranean diet pyramid. At the base of the pyramid, very bottom, we see food is not even the bottom of the pyramid. You see activity, being physically active, enjoying meals with others. We see play, we see socializing, we see good social connections. That is the foundation of the pyramid. And then again, we see it's not just a diet, it is a lifestyle. Being physically active and eating with family and friends is in a communal way is part of Mediterranean living. And something that we see in research also come up, especially with children and getting children in the kitchen cooking and getting kids in the garden, getting kids picking out vegetables. We see that kids who spend time in the kitchen and help prepare and enjoy family meal time, they take those skill sets off with them into adulthood and will eat a healthier diet compared to their peers who did not grow up cooking and having family dinners. We also see at that foundation where the food finally comes in, the foundation foods of this pyramid are plant forward. We see vegetables, grains, mostly whole grains. Again, the fat is coming from olive oil. We see beans, nuts, seeds, herbs, spices. I can't talk about the Mediterranean diet without talking about garlic and lemon, all those good herbs, basil and sage and thyme and rosemary. Does anyone have a favorite? Basil? Yes. Oregano, that's a great one too. Anybody else? Garlic, yes. And we're at the height of summer. And I put a few on the table. We'll email all of the handouts that I brought with me. We're going to email them to you in PDF form too, if you registered online. So we'll get those to you. But this is, get my friends on Zoom. Can you see? Perhaps. You've seen it before if you've seen me talk. This is the Jersey Fresh seasonality chart, and this shows all of the fruits and vegetables that are grown in the state of New Jersey and when you can expect to see Jersey Fresh versions of them in your farmer's market and farm stand. So anything on this list, all of our great produce that is being grown in the Garden State right now, this can serve as the basis of your pyramid when it comes to fruits and veggies, looking at eating in season and choosing what's fresh and local and in season. We can integrate that also with following the Mediterranean lifestyle. And if you grab your neighbor and walk to the farmer's market, you're practicing all 3 components. You're getting your physical activity, you're getting your fruits and veggies, and you're socializing. We also see the Next layer after our plant-based layer there is fish and seafood. Fish and seafood are recommended to be consumed at least 2 times per week. There are variations of the Mediterranean diet. Of course, there's variations of every diet so that anyone can enjoy it. We also see a pesco Mediterranean eating pattern where fish will be the main protein. We also, you could also follow a vegetarian version of the Mediterranean diet where your beans, nuts, your legumes, lentils, chickpeas, all of those goodies, they're going to be your plant protein. And then as we move up after seafood, we have our poultry. We have eggs, cheese, and yogurt. These are eaten in moderate portions daily to weekly. So we're not looking at having chicken, eggs, cheese, and yogurt every single day. These are more kind of sliding in and off, on and off of the plate throughout the week. And then our red meats and our sweets we see being consumed least often, all the way at the tippy top of the pyramid. Not a whole lot of room for those. And if you would like to try following a Mediterranean diet, getting into it, sliding the proportion of your plate that you allow for your red meat or your sweet foods, kind of shrink that part of the plate down and throw some of the other goodies from the bottom of the pyramid in its spot. And then that will proportionally kind of get you more in line with this Mediterranean diet food pyramid. And moderation is going to look different for everybody, of course, based on what your calorie needs are. It's hard to say what moderate is in exact quantity, like 2 times a week, 3 times a week, how 1 cup, half a cup. It's hard to give a generic blanket recommendation for things like that because all of us have different activity levels, different ages, different fitness levels, different calorie needs, which translate to different energy and protein needs. So it's going to look different for each of us. And if we're zoomed out and having a relaxing time with it, it's really about the proportion on your plate. What are you giving your plate to? What foods are you giving your time and attention to? See, we have some other Mediterranean favorites here. We see some examples of fruits and vegetables found in the Mediterranean area of the world. We see olives. Olives contain monounsaturated fatty acids. So does the olive oil. So it's a heart-healthy oil. We see artichokes being featured as well as another Mediterranean vegetable. And with artichokes, we have potassium, magnesium, iron, vitamin C, calcium, a couple B vitamins. So very nutritious. I could give you the laundry list nutrient quantity of all of these, but does anyone want that? You see, right now, varied plate, fruits, veggies, different colors. We're going to capture all of these nutrients by following a varied diet and getting many different kinds of fruits and vegetables in our diet. Anyone see one that they in particular like the most, like the least? Have a recipe for, want a recipe for? Yes. Yeah. Oh, for the whole artichokes. The artichoke hearts, we do. I'll write it down and add it to the list. So we're going to email you out recipes. So that's why I'm asking. I'm like, does anybody want a recipe? Let me know. We'll email it. We'll add that to the reminders. Anybody else? Yes. Oh, nice.
You broil them and olive oil and lime juice.
Olive oil and lime juice on roasted Brussels sprouts. That sounds awesome. I'm writing that down too. Marinate it for you, let it sit for a little bit, or do you toss it and then put it in the oven right away?
We also do broccoli, sliced sweet potatoes, last dish, olive oil, lime juice on top, and let that soak up. By the time we get the olive oil open, pour the olive oil on, sort of slosh it back and forth. Top grill or watch it.
Oh yeah, broiling things. That tight attention span on the broiling. That sounds delicious. Oh wow. Oh good. Well, thank you for sharing. That sounds delightful. Anybody else gonna try it? I'm gonna try it. Yeah. Well, awesome fruit and veggie ideas. We also have grains being featured on the Mediterranean diet, specifically whole grains. So we look at the grains that are the least processed, that still have that bran on by the time they get to our plate. And they're part of the Mediterranean diet and offer many health benefits as well. Foremost, we see fiber from whole grains that can help our gut microbiome. We have zinc also. That's another mineral that, in addition to iron, magnesium, and selenium, that are in whole grains. And these minerals, we see them in the whole grain. If they're in a refined grain, they have to be fortified because we lose the nutrition from the bran of the grain when it's processed. And zinc is needed for the immune system to work properly. These minerals also play a role in cell division, cell growth, wound healing. You see B vitamins also, they are a cofactor in carbohydrate metabolism, so they help our bodies use carbohydrate energy. Let's see. Iron also, we see iron being used to make hemoglobin, help use the oxygen that we breathe. And then magnesium, that's needed for many reactions throughout the body. It's really critical for nerve and muscle function, for bone strength. It helps with energy production also. And selenium is another mineral that has functions as an antioxidant and helps our body neutralize free radicals. It's also very important for immune function. So again, we see the pieces of the nutrients in the foods. If we're zooming out, we're capturing a wide array of nutrients from the fruits and vegetables and from the grains, and we'll see in a minute the legumes. Some Mediterranean favorite grains include buckwheat. Anybody cook or use buckwheat besides in a pancake? I've not tried the groats myself yet. They're on my bucket list. Anyone try farro or bulgur wheat? Yes. Do you like it? Delicious. It's tabbouleh season too. What's your favorite thing to make with them? Pilaf? Oh, that's a great idea. So I'm talking again for our Zoom friends who the microphone wouldn't have picked you up, but making stuffed peppers with bulgur wheat instead of using rice. That's a great tip because bulgur wheat has, so arborio rice is risotto rice, which is on the list. I don't know why. It is one of the grains of the Mediterranean. Rice isn't bad. And when we're shopping for rice, if you look for brown rice, that's going to still have that bran on it. It's much higher in potassium and it has more fiber than white rice too, if you like it. I find the farro and the bulgur wheat and the quinoa a little bit more interesting and a little bit more fun. So if I'm making myself something, I'm like, oh, I want to be adventurous. I'll go for something more exciting than brown rice when I'm like, brown rice, I could take or leave, but that's a personal preference. Anybody else have a personal preference? No. No, bulgur is super, super quick. It's if you get and you can get it right at the local grocery store. There's a famous brand of it. Rutgers does not endorse specific brands, products, or services, so ask your neighbor. But if you flip over the bag, it will give you the cooking directions, just like rice. And the kind that I get, it's 2 cups of water to 1 cup of bulgur. You just bring that water to a boil in a pot, throw the bulgur in, stir it, and then take it off the heat and let it sit. That's it. You don't even have to like monitor it. And then I'll throw a few garlic cloves in there, a drizzle of olive oil in there, any other herbs and aromatics, so that as the bulgur wheat is expanding, it's sucking up something flavorful too, not just water. But yeah, so a lot of these if it's our first time cooking a new thing, it can be like the first time I made it, I'm like, am I doing it right? This is kind of intimidating, but they're really just as easy as rice and many of them are.
Is there a specific that would be
A whole grain bread. Are you looking for a whole grain bread? I mean, there are studies that show that sourdough bread can be a little easier to digest for people, but whether or not that's part of the Mediterranean diet, not sure specifically. I haven't looked into fermented foods in the Mediterranean diet. Does anyone else have any questions or anything they want to add about any of the foods that we talked about? So looking at legumes, we are talking about our beans and peas here. Chickpeas, aka garbanzo beans, they're used as the base for hummus. So that's a popular Mediterranean snack. They're also really great just to throw in salads. You can throw them in pasta dishes. So if you're making a quick pasta primavera and you have canned beans in your pantry on hand, open up a can of chickpeas, throw that in with your veggies and your pasta. Can of cannellini beans. They're great to throw in a salad too. You're adding more, again, we're adding fiber, we're adding more nutrition. And has anyone tried any of the vegetarian chickpea, like the chicken salad or tuna salad substitutes with chickpeas? You can mash chickpeas up and use them as a substitute for egg salad or chicken salad. Do like a buffalo version, very tasty. Edamame or soybeans, that's another legume that you could pick up frozen, fresh, dried. They're quick and easy, protein-packed snack. And if you would like to use dried beans, soaking them before cooking them will help rehydrate them. This also reduces compounds in beans that cause gas. So if you soak your beans beforehand and then throw out that water and put new water, when you boil them, that can reduce some of the phytates. We want to discard and soak to eliminate Also, some of the dissolved starch that can cause that gassiness. And it also helps reduce the cooking time. And who doesn't want to reduce their cooking time? If you are using canned beans, which is very convenient, that's a good go-to as well. We want to rinse those off to get rid of some of, again, that dissolved starch. And also, if you are not using low sodium or salt-free beans, you can rinse the sodium off of the beans as well. And checking out labels when you're at the store and looking for the low sodium version, reduced salt, low salt versions. That's also helpful to do. Legumes or beans are a lean protein, part of a good diet for vegetarians and vegans, but they are also a wonderful addition for any of us who are not vegetarian or vegan. We will be adding many vitamins, minerals, and fiber when we add beans to our diet. Beans provide protein for muscle repair and muscle growth. The protein also helps use the protein and the fiber that are in legumes helps keep you full longer. So can help fill us up for fewer calories. Legumes also have many vitamins and minerals. They have our B vitamins show up again, looking at folate, riboflavin, and vitamin B6. We also have potassium, iron, magnesium, calcium, and zinc. So again, these same nutrients that we see in our whole grains, we are again seeing being added to our plate again. Another benefit of beans is that they have no cholesterol, they have no saturated fat. So we're looking at a heart healthy protein. Most legumes, with the exception of soybeans, they are not what we call a complete protein. But you can pair them with the whole grains to make them that complete protein, meaning they offer all 9 essential amino acids that are the protein building blocks that our bodies need in our diet. We cannot make them ourselves. And you don't have to pair them in each meal to make a complete protein. We've changed our minds about that a little bit in nutrition land. If you are eating beans at one meal and a whole grain at another meal, you can still, for the day, capture that complete protein and get all of your amino acids. So having a variety of protein foods from a variety of sources throughout the day, that can help get you the different types of amino acids and capture all of the protein building blocks that we need. And we also see, has anyone seen amino acid supplements in the grocery, like dietary supplements? They are, oh, good. Okay. Never mind that. They're advertised and marketed as a supplement, thinking that like, oh, we need this, but they're in all the foods that we eat. And it would be very unlikely for any of us to have a deficiency in any of them because we're getting them throughout the day from all of our protein foods. We also have nuts and seeds being featured on the Mediterranean diet. And these, like we saw in the PreDiMed study, the serving size in the PreDiMed study was 1 ounce. So that's just a small handful. 1 ounce is the serving size for nuts. And that can be, as we look at the Mediterranean diet, when it comes to weight loss or looking at can you lose weight on the Mediterranean diet, any diet we could lose weight or gain weight on, depending on how much we eat following that diet. Nuts and seeds are in the category of food that do have a lot of calories in a small amount of space. So having that in context of your general diet will help maintain your weight. We want to be eating them in moderation, but they are a very good bang for your buck considering the nutrition that they offer. They also have healthy fats. They are, again, high in those monounsaturated fatty acids that support heart health. Monounsaturated fat helps lower that LDL, the lousy cholesterol, the one that we're trying to get lower, and can help raise that HDL, that happy, that good cholesterol. And the vitamins, minerals, and fiber, again, we see that being repeated. We also see in our servings of nuts and seeds and also in our fatty fish, omega-3 fatty acids. These are essential fatty acids. Again, this is something that the body does not make. We have to get it through our diet. We can't make it ourselves. And omega-3s are beneficial for heart health and also help lower triglyceride, which is a fat in the body that can contribute to heart disease if it's higher than normal in our blood. So our omega-3 fats help lower that triglyceride level. They also help reduce blood clotting and play an important role in brain function too, our omega-3 fats. Nuts and seeds are high in vitamin E as well, which is one of our fat-soluble vitamins. So we need fat to be able to properly absorb vitamin E. So it's a complete package with our nuts and seeds. We get our healthy fats and we get our vitamins. Vitamin E is a powerful antioxidant as well. Vitamin E is critical for the immune system, and it also plays a role in red blood cell formation. Monounsaturated fats, we see them lowering that LDL cholesterol. That this can help lower our risk of heart disease, and it's one of the reasons why the Mediterranean diet is linked to heart health. It's that emphasis on heart healthy fats and the bulk of fats in the diet coming from healthy fats like olive oil, nuts, seeds, fatty fish, and having our unhealthy fats, that saturated fat that is in animal products, in our red meat, and full fat dairy products. We saw those foods higher in the top of the pyramid. So we're eating less of the foods that are detrimental to heart health and more of the foods that support heart health. And if anyone's interested in increasing the healthy fat in your diet, try switching out some olive oil or canola oil where you would usually use butter or margarine. Or if you were normally to cook something entirely in butter, try cooking it in half olive oil and half butter and see if you still get that good buttery flavor. Has anyone tried that? It works. Yeah, it's work. Yeah. Yes. Avocado is another one that's high in the monounsaturated fatty acids. So that would be a yes from me. I don't go too far into like the mechanisms in this presentation. Are you referring to the polyphenols and the antioxidants? And so it is high in beneficial plant compounds that support heart health in ways besides the fatty acid profile too. There are good plant compounds.
The healthiest olive oil comes from the harshest, which right now the highest is. And what they push, what you really want is single source, one farm, one picking and process. And a lot of them see in stores, they create a collection over a couple of years old, 4 or 5 different countries. They take, the leftovers, they put them all together and they lower it all.
Yeah, so
rated by the top 5-star chefs in Europe. And is this Moroccan big brand name in Atlas.
I can't endorse any specific products, services, or brands.
Underneath.
I'll have to look into this further. I don't know about this. Oh, wow.
Anyways.
Oh, thank you. Thanks. That's great. It's not a vice. Yes. We changed our minds about that too. You can cook with olive oil up to us. You don't want to do like any like long deep frying in it. But in general, if you're swapping out a saturated fat like a butter or a palm oil those are the fatty acids that are more stable at higher temperatures because the bond is, I don't want to drone about chemistry. It has to do with like the bond on the molecule. But we see that cooking with olive oil is fine. And if you keep it at a little bit of a lower temperature, like if you're sauteing on your stove, it does not become poisonous. You want to keep any oil that you're cooking with, try to keep it below its smoke point. So if you can see it smoking, that's when the bonds are breaking in the fat. And if you're sauteing on the stove, in general, like these are things that I'm not giving too much of my personal time and attention to, because if you are following the general healthy diet and you are having a variety of fruits and vegetables, if you oxidize a little bit of your oil because your pan got a little too hot, it's still healthier than if you cooked something entirely in butter, and it's still much healthier than if you went through the drive-through somewhere. So even like being at home, cooking for yourself, cooking your own food, play in your kitchen, love what you cook for people you love in your kitchen. That's, I don't know. I want to zoom out. Yes.
As opposed to 30 years ago, I just switched. The kids didn't even notice everything.
Yeah, you get used to it. You do get used to it. And that's true. We see that in people who reduce their salt intake. You get used to following a low salt diet. We see it in people who reduce added sugar intake. You get used to not having all of your food be sweet all of the time. And that's a great example of you made a switch to a healthier product years ago, and now that's just how you live your life sustainably without even thinking about it. I think that's a really cool point too. Whether or not olive oil is the best oil out of all the oils, I can't answer that. I have no idea. But it is a heart healthy oil, and it's helpful to include as part of a general healthy diet. And the sustainability piece too, I think is a really worth noting in your story. Yeah.
Just like they looked at me like, and they just Like they
Hmm.
live with what I was, but it was every single every place I went.
It's so interesting.
Oh,
Has anyone else been there? Did you find olive oil in this? I mean, every place is different, but I'm sure they have olive oil somewhere. But thank you for sharing. Oh, it's also pointed out as part of the slide, part of the information on this slide that dipping our bread in olive oil, that is actually an American dish, and that the caveat is olive oil, though being a healthy fat, it's still 100 calories a tablespoon. So we do have to keep paying attention to that as well. We just want to make some substitutions where we can, and again, eat, drink, and be merry. So let's look at some of the different blue zones and what is unique to each one. And we can run through these lists pretty quickly here. Fast forward our animation. So in Icaria, Greece, we see the lowest rates of people dying in middle age, as well as some of the lowest rates of dementia. And we see the list of everyday foods up on the screen. We see legumes featured. We see meals, again, being flavored with herbs, being flavored with citrus. We see heart healthy fats with our olive oil and all those good Mediterranean herbs. What do we think? Do we like it? Do we approve? It looks good. Okinawa, Japan was another one of the blue zone regions that we saw in the beginning of the presentation. And people who live in Okinawa, Japan have some of the highest life expectancy rates in the world. We see tofu featured as an everyday protein. We also see more, there we go. We also see mostly plant-based, that plant-forward eating pattern, mostly plants, featuring nutrient-dense whole foods. And we are also seeing, again, turmeric, spices, seaweeds, kombu, and wakame. They also kind of add a lot of flavor to food too. If you've ever thrown them in a stock pot, if you're making soup, they're really good. Has anyone ever cooked bitter melon? Ever grown it in your garden? It's fun adventurous crop. That it looks like a cucumber, and it can be fried. It can be sautéed or steamed. Mushrooms are featured as well, and mushrooms are under intriguing body of evidence about the immune protecting properties of shiitake mushrooms and in general mushrooms, and how the antioxidants in mushrooms can contribute to brain health and cancer prevention. Anyone want to comment on any of the foods from Okinawa, Japan? Something that we like, something that we eating already?
They the tofu does a lot of turmeric, and I make eggs, and it looks like eggs because the turmeric makes them yellow.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, a nice little substitute for scrambled eggs.
Oh, that sounds good. So it's one of our participants mentioned a tofu scramble as an egg substitute and using turmeric to give the tofu a yellow color. So it looks even more like scrambled eggs. That's a really great tip. Thank you. When we move over to Sardinia, Italy, another one of our blue zone regions, we see again the same pattern of enjoying whole, nutrient dense, minimally processed, unprocessed foods. We see our whole grains, we see our legumes. We also see fruits and vegetables, tomatoes. The dairy in Sardinia, Italy is coming from goats or sheep's milk, which has a high nutritional value, just like cow's milk. And then nuts, almonds eaten alone or added to dishes. And in the peninsula region of Costa Rica, we see lower rates of heart disease. We see people are happy, they're socializing, they are enjoying, again, as everyday foods. We see the same pyramid pattern repeating with whole grains, fruits, vegetables. And corn is a whole grain also. Corn falls into that whole grain category. So we see tortillas. Squash would be like a winter squash, a butternut squash, and all of the wonderful nutrients that our orange fruit and veggie group gives us, all those carotenoids, vitamin A precursors, vitamin C. Yams are also high in potassium, which is a shortfall nutrient, meaning that many of us don't get enough of it every day in our diet. So anytime that we are adding one of these shortfall nutrient foods to our plate, we help get enough the recommended amounts. Yes, does somebody have their hand up? Moving on to Loma Linda, California, we see lower rates of heart disease and diabetes compared to the general population. We also see very low rates of obesity. And for our everyday foods, any surprises here? Any surprises? We see our whole grains, we see our produce, we see beans, nuts, fatty fish, avocados show up yet again, and soy milk too. And drinking water instead of sugar sweetened beverages. That's another point. Anyone questions, comments on Loma Linda, California? And this is a Seventh Day Adventist community in California. So if anyone wants to get started with anyone make hummus at home from scratch? Yes. Do you have a favorite recipe? Yes. That sounds delicious. Yes. Yeah, I've done half and half, but I've never done total eggplant. Try it. Anyone else? Thank you.
Beans with olive oil and
Sounds good. Do you use the chickpeas? Chickpeas? I mean, you can make a bean dip out of any bean, right? It doesn't have to be a chickpea. You could use black beans. That would be good. Chipotle, lime juice, chili powder, cumin. For chickpea, oh, it is tahini, yes, the sesame seed paste. That is an ingredient in hummus made with the lemon, olive oil, chickpea hummus, yes. But if you're making your own at home, you can add it if you like it. You can leave it out if you don't like it. You can try it. You can decide you liked it in the hummus and you want to put it in a salad dressing next. So that's another one of the benefits of the cooking at home and trying new recipes and new foods. It's another chance to add a new adventure. So we see as our key takeaways for discussing the Mediterranean diet, we see that diet and lifestyle work together. It's never just the food by itself. It's never just exercising. You can't outrun a bad diet, but you can't outrun a bad diet, but you can't, whatever the opposite would be. And again, we see vegetables, fruits, that bottom of the pyramid, very plant forward, with seafood up next. And then as we get higher, we see the red meats and sweets at the top. But again, socializing, eating together, enjoying company, enjoying your meal, and be active every day.